International Women's Day of all the women in both Muslim world and the globe. Excuse me. I would like to thank you for each of you for coming, our young women in the green economy. This panel is dedicated to 8 March International Women's Days. Today, we have 7 speakers from different parts of the world. So our aim is to raise awareness of the green economy, and also it is aimed to provide a remarkable contribution to participants' intellectual skills, critical thinking overall. So today, we are aiming to get some answer on the role of the young women in the green economy from our distinguished panelists. So we have professionals as well as young students to be share their knowledge and experience in the field of green economy. Unfortunately, ICWF President, His Excellency Mr. Taha Ayhan, could not be with us today, but he sent a statement. So before giving the floor to our panelists, I would like to read His Excellency's statement on our event. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is my utmost pleasure to welcome you all to this important occasion held as part of ICWF commitment to contribute to young females' empowerment in the OIC region and beyond. As a result of the pandemic and conflict, global economies are disturbed and turbulence touch all domains of life. These conditions are hampering economic recovery and deepening pre-existing inequalities, exposing vulnerabilities in social, political, and economic systems, which amplify the impact of the pandemic. Unfortunately, most affected are young people, especially women and young girls. Many of them are deprived from basic needs, education, proper health care, hygiene, and access to employment, and worst of all, many are facing major risks of violence. With a profound sense of humor and humility, I would like to share with you that since the beginning of my tenure as president of ICWF, I have repeatedly led the institutions to design constructive projects related to empowerment of young women in the OIC region and beyond. Today's event, in line with the theme of the CSW this year, and in line with the ICWF mission to strengthen young females' initiatives and participation in the green economy. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, transitioning to the green industry can promote environmental sustainability and gender equality by encompassing economic growth from resource consumption and facilitating the systemic socio-political transformation needed to respond to social inequalities. In this course, removing the gender gap is the key to facilitating sustainable economic growth, since it increases women's productivity for a greener economy. The main challenges in implementing green economies in most Islamic countries are gender inequality, weak management to create an enabling environment for women to fully participate in economic life, increasing poverty, local and border conflicts, high economic dependency on natural resources, and increasing food insecurity. The urgent solutions are to introduce policies, regulations, and incentives to promote green economies and mitigate these challenges. Therefore, this special event aims to enhance the intellectual capacities of the young generation and raise awareness on green economy and women's role to advance this sustainable choice. It brings together the youth and especially the young women from all around the world for a rich discussion on the role of women in the green economy. I strongly believe that this discussion will result in good recommendations and solutions from a youth perspective to the current and future challenges related to the green economy and gender inequality. Finally, I am very happy to excited and distinguished experts and young women participating in the international in this very great day, International Women's Days. So once again, I welcome each and every one of you, speakers and audience, to this significant event, wishing you all a very happy Women's Day to strong, intelligent, talented, and simply wonderful women of this world. Esselamu Aleyküm ve Berekatuhu. His Excellency Mr. Taha Ayhan, President of the ICWF. So I would like to thank you to His Excellency Mr. Taha Ayhan for this inspiring statement. Now, I would like to give the floor to Ms. Dr. Amy Townsend Small for her presentation. But before we start the presentation, I would like to read her short biography, if you allow me, Ms. Townsend Small. So, Dr. Townsend Small is a senior science advisor in the US Department of State, as well as an associate professor of environmental studies at the University of Cincinnati. Her area of expertise is greenhouse gas emissions and climate change, particularly methane emissions from the oil and gas supply chain, as well as from agriculture, waste, and natural systems such as lakes and thawing permafrost. So, Dr. Townsend Small, floor is yours, and you have 7 minutes.
Thank you so much. So as we all know, bold action to tackle the climate crisis is needed more urgently than ever. And no country can solve the climate crisis alone. Everyone must do their part. And we must harness everyone's potential as we work to tackle this crisis. So women and girls and other marginalized communities play a critical role in addressing the climate crisis as we seek to limit global greenhouse gas emissions and global temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius and reach net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. The climate crisis and gender equality are inextricably linked. Evidence increasingly demonstrates that empowering women politically, economically, and socially, and meaningfully including their needs and perspectives in decision-making leads to more equitable and sustainable policies, including those to combat the climate crisis. Women and girls bring fresh perspectives, skills, and talents to climate mitigation, where innovative and sustainable clean energy solutions are needed to transform the high-emitting global energy sector. Also, women and girls are disproportionately impacted by the effects of climate change, which includes encountering gender-based violence and conflict related to natural resources, loss of livelihoods, food insecurity, and poverty. Not only are women and girls more likely to experience poverty and food insecurity, but they are also more likely to be responsible for obtaining increasingly scarce natural resources for their families or have livelihoods dependent on those natural resources. Because of this, it is crucial to dismantle existing silos between gender equality and climate change policy by recognizing the critical role of women and girls as leaders in mitigating and adapting to climate change. The United States Gender Policy and Strategy reflects climate impacts and consideration for women and girls in all their diversity. Among these guiding strategy documents are the first ever U.S. National Strategy on Gender Equity and Equality, and the forthcoming update to the U.S. Strategy to Prevent and Respond to Gender-Based Violence Globally. Prioritizing the empowerment of women, girls, and gender-diverse persons as innovative and effective leaders in the fight against the climate crisis will make our efforts more successful. At the government level, research shows that when more women are in positions of leadership, environmental agreements are more likely to be ratified, Land use policies are more likely to be reformed, and the environment is more likely to be protected. At the community level, women are already leaders in reducing waste, adopting sustainable agricultural practices, planting trees, and moving away from charcoal as a fuel source. Around the world, the relationship between women, girls, the environment, and their communities make them more uniquely poised to develop locally relevant and more effective climate interventions reflective of the entire population. This includes Indigenous women and girls whose knowledge of community needs is indispensable in designing and implementing culturally appropriate solutions. Further, women and girls have been shown to be some of the most creative and vocal advocates in our collective fight against climate change. They must be empowered as leaders in addressing the climate crisis, as innovators, entrepreneurs, and founders of initiatives and enterprises with meaningful and social impact. We must also understand the impact of climate change on women and girls and amplify their efforts to create meaningful and effective solutions for all of society. Solutions to climate impacts developed by women and girls for their local communities will not only contribute to accomplishing our shared climate goals, but they may prove to be game-changing for other communities around the world facing similar climate challenges. In the United States, spanning urban, suburban, and rural settings, women and girls are turning social and environmental challenges into opportunities for themselves, marginalized communities, and future populations. They are helping their communities build back better by deploying coastline adaptation projects, energy efficiency programs, and forest management strategies. These women and girls are building resilience in their own communities and collaborating with others to improve resilience around the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. It was very great presentation. And through my notes, I can say that you basically said that women and girls can bring fresh ideas to the crisis that we are facing. I mean, the climate crisis, which we totally agree. And also, what you are suggesting that if women and girls can engage the decision-making process with the, whole the thing about the climate crisis, and we will have more chance to solve this crisis, as far as I understand. So again, thank you very much for your presentation and with this excellent ideas. And if you have, dear participant, if you have any questions to the Dr. Towns and Small, please use our chat box. At the end of this session, I will be getting all the questions from the chat boxes, and I will be forwarded to our panelists. Again, thank you so much, Doctor. And now I would like to give the floor to our second panelist, to Dr. Carter Marufi. But first, let me read her short biography before I am giving the floor to her. So Dr. Carter Marufi, after a technological university degree in biosource management from the Higher Institute of Applied Biological Sciences, a master's degree in life and earth sciences, a master's degree in environmental sciences from the Faculty of Science of Bizert, and a doctorate in biological sciences from the Faculty of Sciences of Bizert with a publication and communications in the field. Ms. Dr. Marufi manages her own consulting firm on the environment and waste management field. Ms. Dr. Marufi has a very diversified professional expertise of 10 years of technological consulting in the environmental field, sustainable development, projects, and the circular economy in Tunisia, with work experience of field missions based on field diagnosis, coordination, project design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation with a process based on interpersonal communication, institutional communication, and participatory communication. So, dear Dr. Marufi, floor is yours. You have 7 minutes.
Thank you. So good morning to all. So I'm Dr. Marufi Kaufer, expert on environment and particularly on waste management. So please, you have to excuse my English accent because generally all my speech and intervention are in French. So today I will make more effort to express myself in English as requested. So in the beginning, I would start with presenting the Tunisian strategy in green economy. After that, I will present the experience of gender in Tunisia from regulatory aspect, institutional aspect, and the role of the civil society. Then I will present the reality of things in the field, taking as an experienced woman in the informal sector of waste management, which was an experience leaded from my work since I am an expert and consultant in waste management. So Tunisia has adhered to international standards and adopted a national strategy for the green economy, which aims to look at the possibilities of developing current economic activity and the concentration of new green activities in several areas like organic agriculture, ecotourism, eco-building, the green industry with the support of renewable energy, conservation of water, and integrated management of waste. So the vision of the national green economy strategy has been identified by 4 principles, which are develop strong economic growth and that is dynamic, inclusive, innovative, and supportive, reduce the current sensitivity of natural resources and regionalization systems that act with effects of climate change, adopt the integrated development of governance, decentralized and participatory, with the adoption of the top-down approach, which ensures the implementation of strategic projects on the one hand, and the bottom-up approach to encourage local initiatives on the other hand. And the 4th principle is promote the quality of life of citizens and resistance to disturbances. So from all these principles, it's clear that the green economy brings together the economic and environmental pillars of sustainable development. So the participation of women in the green economy constitutes an important link of the third pillar, which is the social pillar. So their contributions are a key aspect of the integration of the 3 pillars: environmental, economic, and social. So in my opinion, to succeed in this approach, it's necessary to ensure that public policies promote actions in favor of women. That's why Tunisia has organized the gender in the country from different sides. If we take the regulatory level, we find that Tunisia has always been considered as one of the most advanced Arab countries in terms of women's rights, thanks to the Personal Status Code promulgated in 1956. In addition, Tunisia ratified in 1985 the Convention of the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, and the new Tunisian Constitution of January 2014, after the revolution, consolidates gender equality in workplace in Article 14, for example. And for the institutional level, we have a Ministry for Women and the Family, which was created in 1993, and since 2014, it has had 24 regional branches in the form of commissariats of women's and family affairs in the governorates. And the role of the ministry is mainly to develop policies to promote women, to monitor the implementation of these policies, and to ensure that gender disparities are reduced. Among other things, it gave priority to promoting equality and increasing women's participation in the employment field and their economic autonomy. So the ministry also is assisted by several organizations which their attributions complement each other and fall within the same sphere of objectives, like National Council for Women and the Family, and the Women and Development, and so many other organizations. And for the level of civil society, we have about 20 associations that act in the gender aspect. Mainly, we have a National Union of Tunisian Women, created in 1956, the Association to Tunisian for Research and Development, and so many others. And within the framework of our subject today, many development and environmental association encouraged by international organizations like Tunisia 21, Women for Sustainable Development, include in their project a gender approach and components to support women, particularly rural women in disadvantaged regions. But within all this regulation and institutional framework, there is a certain reality that still requires work and support. For example, it has been revealed that women received in terms of average salary 25% less than men, and the salary gap between men and women increases with their level of qualification. For example, not qualified women receive 18% less than men, and they receive 55% less as an engineer. So, and in the informal sector, it's even worse, and this concerns especially the private sector, and this is not significant at the level of the public sector. So as part of my work, I will tell you about a woman in the informal sector in waste management. So this experience were concluded from a professional experience that I led in project carried out in Tunisia a few years ago. This experience touched the gender dimension in the informal sector of waste management, which are the waste pickers women. It was identified that the main issues facing women in the informal waste management sector are lack of access to social service, lack of access to microfinance, and social discrimination, despite they contribute to the recycling of up to 60% of plastic waste. So the actions undertaken as a good practices and recommendations to improve the situation of these women were especially communication, sensitization, and advocacy with the stakeholders, whether at local or national level, which took place during official meeting to rise to the surface and bring these women out of social isolation, and the organization of sector in association which empower these women and gives them a credible interlocutor for the formal stakeholders, and the training and capacity building to facilitate access to information and new opportunities for structuring and valuing the achievement of the informal sector, and the support of state institutional to the project is a main factor of success and improvement of results like municipality and ministry. And there was also a technical integration of these women through the provision of uniforms and identification badges to obtain a better self-perception, raising citizen awareness of selective sorting to guarantee collection of a clean product by women waste pickers. So the women waste pickers citizen relation have improved thanks to pilot project. And for the funding side, we worked to guarantee a better knowledge of the profession and the needs of waste picker by microfinance institutions. This should enable them to launch a specific financing product. And so this project was an attempt to create sustainable pathways for the social, economic, and operational integration of women waste pickers. And thank you for following.
Thank you so much, Ms. Dr. Marufi. And it was very fruitful presentation. And also, it was very interesting to hear Tunisian experience in this field. And also, it was also an interesting thing that you shared your own experience in the field of the waste management. So again, thank you so much for your contribution. Now, I would like to give the floor to Ms. Rafi Allan, but first, let me read her short biography. Then I will be giving the floor to her, inshallah. So, Ms. Rafi Allan is the gender specialist working in the Women and Youth Empowerment Division of the Islamic Development Bank since October 2013. She leads the development and implementation of strategic projects and programs for women's and girls' empowerment and capacity development for NGOs. She organizes and delivers workshops and trains the Islamic Development Bank's staff on why gender mainstreaming matters and how they achieve results. And also, Ms. Rafif is particularly interested in promoting girls' education in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics related subjects, and is leading the implementation of a number of programs in Islamic Development Bank's member countries. She developed a practical tool to guide water experts to effectively mainstream women and youth empowerment dimensions in the Islamic Development Bank's water sector projects. So Ms. Rafif was awarded a master's degree in human resource management and development from the University of Manchester, United Kingdom. So Ms. Rafif, floor is yours and you have 7 minutes.
Thank you, Brother Yunus. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone, wherever you are in the world. I join my voice to my other colleagues to wish you a happy International Women's Day. This globally observed day is meant to recognize the contributions and achievements of women to our societies. Today is also a time of reflection and renewed commitment to gender equality and women's empowerment. In 2019, the Islamic Development Bank approved its first ever women's empowerment policy, outlining the bank's commitment to promoting women's empowerment to reduce poverty and foster inclusive, sustainable development. Today, we still stick to these commitments while realigning our strategy to achieve the overarching objectives enshrined in the bank's updated 10-year strategy. The bank has recently reviewed its strategic orientation to best align its support over the next 3 years to the critical needs and priorities of its member countries. Over the next 3 years, 2023 to 2025, ISDB's strategy aims to focus on 3 overarching strategic objectives, namely boosting recovery, tackling poverty and building resilience, and driving the green economic growth in its member countries. This realignment is framed with the intention to make strategic shifts at this critical junction of time to better respond to the adverse economic impacts of COVID-19 and help our member countries to achieve sustainable and green recovery. The realigned bank strategy supports the implementation of the 2025 action plan of the OIC with a focus on selected priority areas, including women's empowerment. The bank will invest in building inclusive, sustainable, green, and resilient infrastructure in water, sanitation, transport, urban and rural development. It will also support bridging the existing and emerging digital divide in member countries across different sectors, like in telemedicine, e-commerce, and other digital solutions for service delivery, in order to enhance the lives and livelihoods of people, particularly for women who are most disadvantaged. The bank will deploy additional instruments to support infrastructure investment, including Islamic financing instruments, green finance, and climate finance in various sectors. We see great potential for use of Islamic finance instruments such as green, social, sustainable, and impact sukuk, awqaf, sadaqah, and zakat that can support our member countries to mobilize additional financing to support the achievements of their development plans. the fragility and uncertainty of the recovery and to avoid long-term scarring effects, recovery strategies are focused on youth employment as a key objective, taking into account gender inequalities and other relevant dimensions. So the Islamic Development Bank is committed to supporting a just transition to green growth to generate more decent jobs for young women, provide social protection, address gender gaps, while addressing climate change and mitigate the negative impact of the pandemic on our economies. Green jobs can play a vital role in recovering from our economic crisis by reintegrating women who lost their jobs into the economy, accelerate their transitioning from school to work, supporting young women innovation and entrepreneurship, supporting employment of vulnerable and advantaged women, particularly those living in rural areas and refugees, and helping women safely adapt to climate change. However, this transition to the green economy will change the type of skills required in many existing occupations and industries. Hence, the bank will invest in creating a future-proof workforce by providing green skills to new entrants to the workforce, reskilling women whose jobs are becoming less relevant, and training up women to acquire green skills while maintaining their existing roles in their societies. Improving financial literacy and financial inclusion of women is another shared solution through which we can generate employment opportunities for the upskilled and reskilled women, support their innovation and entrepreneurship, hence their resilience to future shocks and giving them a bigger role in leading recovery in their communities. The bank is committed to working with the youth and development partners to reform education and training systems, the systems that will equip youth with the needed skills to engage and lead their own initiatives to reduce poverty, mitigate climate change, conserve the environment, and provide innovative solutions across the different sectors. So we at the Islamic Development Bank call upon everyone present here to deepen our understanding of both the current and future issues impacting young people, developing future-oriented and shared solutions in partnership with the youth, and most importantly, empower women and give them an equal opportunity to access and share resources to build a better future for themselves, families, and societies at large. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, dear Ms. Afif Allan. So your speech, your presentation was very beneficial for us. And I am sure our participant will be having lots of questions to you, but we need to wait for at the end of this session for getting all questions to you. Again, thank you so much. Now, I would like to give the floor to Ms. Esma Khan Yıldız to share her own experience, especially with us. But first, I would like to read her biography, then I will be giving the floor to her. So, Esma Khan Yıldız was born in Istanbul, Turkey at 1984, married and mom of 3. She had her undergraduate degree in Indiana University, studied in informatics department with the biology minor. She worked as a research and development manager at Kaanlar Food Industry, a dairy and olive product producer company. Presently, she works at non-private schools as a sustainable life manager, working with primary school students to teach them about ecology, environment, agriculture, and sustainability. She also established Foundation of Education for All Children with 15 other women to reach children all around Turkey. She has been working on designing her home with the understanding of zero waste and sustainability, growing her own vegetables, planting non-GMO, ancient seeds, and composting are her priorities. So, dear Ms. Yıldız, floor is yours. You have 7 minutes.
Can I share my screen if that's okay?
Of course, you can share it.
Can you see?
Yes, we can see your presentation.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Happy Women's Day to you all. This is Esma. It was a pleasure to listen to your speeches. Today, as a young woman from Istanbul, a graduate of informatics with a minor in biology, also a mother of 3 and a wife, working as a sustainable life manager at a private school, I'm going to talk about my experiences about changing daily consuming habits for a sustainable and greener life. I have been working on designing my home with the understanding of zero waste and sustainability. My priorities are growing vegetables by planting non-GMO ancient seeds, producing alternatives for packaged food and chemicals, and composting. When I was a child, I would often visit my maternal grandmother who lived in Istanbul, and I would witness that she both cooked local Southeastern dishes in the kitchen and produced all kinds of natural remedies for us when we were sick. She never ever threw any food in the garbage, did not like to waste things and always reused them. My paternal grandmother, who lived in the northeast of Turkey, would gather all kinds of herbs from the highlands and mountains for herself, make teas and soups, and even fed her animals with these herbs. Since she lived in a village, she never had garbage. She either fed her animals with the kitchen waste or buried them. For the use of plastic, it was not something disposable for them. But for us, as modern people, it is easy to reach and easy to waste. These experiences, which I observed from both sides of my family, became a light and started to guide me after I became a mother. Since 10 years, I have been visiting the ecological markets established in different parts of Istanbul with the first light of the day to find the cleanest non-GMO and non-chemical vegetables and fruits that I use at home. At the same time, as a family, visiting local markets in the region we go to during our travels and observing the foods grown in that season of the year is another thing that motivates me. I believe that when we get involved in the processing of growing vegetables or when we witness the hard effort to grow it naturally, we respect more, and it is difficult to waste that kind of food. As the ecological balance is going worse every day, we see that we all need for the ancient knowledge of the humanity and the strong intuition and transformative power of woman. As a young woman, I witnessed from first hand the impact one housewife can do to preserve the environment. Educating children is one of the main elements to protect our planet, and this education starts within our homes, our daily practices. We need to establish a sustainable life in order to get to know and protect the universe we live in and to pass it on to future generations without any shame. As Muslim people, this must be our priority, since Allah Almighty describes in many verses in Quran. For example, He says in Surah Al-Baqarah, Bismillah, all you people, eat of what is on earth, lawful and good. Do not follow the footsteps of the evil one, for he is to you an avowed enemy. And another surah, also in Surah Al-Araf, verse 31, eat and drink, but waste not by excess. He loves not the excessive. So we have an exemplary prophet, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He was a master in green politics. He lived and advised to live being aware of the ecology and protect the environment. In one hadith, he advises, there is none amongst the believers who plants a tree or sows a seed, and then a bird or a person or an animal eats thereof, but it is regarded as having given a charitable gift for which that there is great recompense. So we need ecological sustainability for a resilient society. I want to get back to my experience. While my children are growing, I have been so eager to help and serve other children. I want to talk a little about what we do at primary school with children aged 5 to 9. At school, we want students to have a bond with nature, with the soil, with bugs and birds and every creature in nature. We believe that if they can realize the ecological cycle and have a bond with nature, then they can be more active, productive, and creative overall. Teaching children that our food does not grow in the grocery stores, but it grows in the soil is essential. We also help students to grow their own vegetables on raised wooden beds. They observe and get conscious about seasonal nutrition. We advise them to visit local markets to observe what grows in which season. While they are visiting, they get the chance to interact directly with the local farmers. We also teach kids about composting and that it regenerates the soil. We have been doing bokashi composting at school. Learning these things at school at a younger age, I believe it has a power to change the habits in the society. It is also important to get supported by the government and municipalities. As a leading woman in the society, our First Lady, Mrs. Emine Erdoğan, started the Zero Waste campaign, which emerged as a waste management philosophy. The campaign includes actions such as separating organic waste from recycling materials, creation of waste storage centers in institutions such as municipalities and hospitals, returning biodegradable waste into compost. Through these actions, in 2019, plastic bag usage decreased by 80%. 112,000 institutions have started zero waste management in their buildings. 24.2 million tons of recyclable waste have been processed and brought to the economy. Overall recycling rate is increased from 13% in 2017 to 22.4% in 2021, and it is aimed to be increased to 35% by the next year. In sum, initiating awareness at the state level helped increase awareness of the society in Turkey. The demand of the people for a greener world and willpower of the state combined is a must to see results for a change. Now, as I come closer to the end of my presentation, I have some practical, simple questions to challenge ourselves with. Does a toothpaste really have to foam? Should shampoo be liquid? Does white really mean clean? What do perfumes and detergents do to our health? While it absorbs us from our skin, a huge island is formed in the middle of the ocean. Did you know 1/3 of that island is food? The rest is covered with detergent and cosmetic packages. The right answer to these questions are the easy, simple, but very important steps toward making a change in our lives. We have also experienced with the pandemic that our habits and routines in our lives directly affect our physical and mental health, and being depending on outside overshadows our purpose of existence in life. For these reasons, it is a perfect cycle to know, to protect, to reproduce, to reduce of consumption, upcycle, share, realize, and be thankful. Thank you for listening.
So thank you so much, dear Ms. Yıldız. Actually, we have learned lots of things from your experience and from your presentation, especially those last slide that you have asked some questions. I think they are very worth to think about them, and I am sure that our participant right now will be thinking of those questions so far. So again, thank you so much, dear Yıldız, and especially from my side, I really interested in the zero waste system that you have already created, but we will see whether we will have a question about this issue or not. Again, thank you so much for your great presentation. So now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Seydu Sankara, but of course, before I'm giving the floor to you, Mr. Sankara, I would like to give the biography of the Mr. Sankara. So, Seydu Sankara allies Mr. Green, CEO of Green Industry, Burkina Faso, and former and consultant in agribusiness. So, Mr. Green or Mr. Sankara is also a wholesaler of various fruits locally produced and important. He's monitoring some local fruits and market gardening farmers. For a respected use of the soil, he is promoting locally made natural fertilizers and also other manufactured organic ones. So, Mr. Sankara, floor is yours, and you will have 7 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. I will focus my presentation on those following points. The reality of green economy in Burkina and in other African countries, and also the needs of women and girls in the green economy, and some of my experiences that impacted women in some villages. I will say that green economy reality in Burkina Faso and in many other African countries, the women and girls are seen as the direct stakeholders. And they have many things to improve their works and their economy. To empower the women in their different activities, since their role in Africa, in many families, are really focused on the food needs and the care of children and even the health issues. They need to have empowerment and trainings in agriculture. And here we have only opportunities where they are trained, women and girls are trained. It is through the NGOs, but in cooperatives. Some NGOs in Burkina Faso, like Tree Aid, Self-Help Africa, and Hunger Free Worlds, they have some implementing areas in some villages where they train the women and households on how to increase their productivity, especially in market gardenings, and how to process some of their products into final consumption. So the government also are training, but this one is not so large that can benefit many women. It's only those who have companies, and the companies have like agriculture, post-processing. Depending on their domain, the Chamber of Commerce of Burkina Faso contacts those business people to come and receive trainings on their domain. But this is not sufficient. Yet the reality is that women are working more in terms of production, market gardenings, and selling. So they have big needs that the government have to work on. They need trainings, they need land. They need lands because culturally here, the woman or the girl does not inherit land. So it's only for men. No matter how large the farms of the family are, the lands of the family are, the woman cannot inherit from it. So culturally, this is a barrier for women. Yet there are those who are producing more in terms of market gardenings and also in terms of bringing food in the family. So this is a big issue. I know that the government have some regulation on it, but it's not still completed. And they also have some regulation that is giving trainings or encouraging green economy for farmers and women and girls. The action plan started in 2016 to 2020, but the implementation is not so effective. That's why many women who are in the villages or remote areas, they are not aware of it. They don't benefit from it, except where the NGOs are implemented. And also the environment protection, women are I will say, the first actors, because there is the non-timber forest products that many women in Burkina and in many neighboring countries of Burkina are using, like the shea tree. I don't know if many people know it, but the shea tree is like the green gold of Burkina, for Burkina women and Burkina neighboring countries women, because they use the nuts for butter, for consumption, and also for cosmetics. So it's very useful. So they do not cut those trees. And yet the population of those trees in the areas are so high. Then the women who collect those nuts, they protect those trees so that to collect the nuts and make the butter and sell. Yet they also have market issues. Those who process into butter, they have many quantity of butter, but they don't have big markets. They only can consume it, but it's not so profitable. So those points that are really affecting women here, the government is working on it, but not so effective yet. I used to visit some farms of women, and they have issues of water, because those who have lands in terms of farms, they don't produce gardenings. But those who do not have, they just produce and face those issues of water. In the river sides, they just use the river water, but this is for short period of time because it will finish. So they use that water. When the dry season is coming, they have to reduce the size of the farm so that you use the little water that is left for the farms. And they are using that to feed the families, for the school fees, for the health care, and for some other money issues in the family. So has my experience and what I did that impacted women. I was born in a farming family, and this is not something I learned from school. It's something I learned culturally. And I was producing 12 hectares of papaya, where I employed ladies, women and girls to be watering and cleaning and washing the fruits. And I gave them the opportunity to produce market gardenings in my farm. They were producing eggplants, lettuce, and many other eggplants, market gardenings that they could use for the food in the family. And unfortunately, my business collapsed 1 year later. But the important thing is that it raised the awareness of those women, and they were using their own plots of land for their own market gardenings, and they are really benefiting, they're making money from it. And I think that we have to redesign our foods a bit. Instead of using just seasonal crops, we can try to use fruits or plants that can grow and protect the environment and then be useful for our food also. So this experience really helped me to encourage and coach women who are currently processing fruits into juice to sell, or making some biscuits and other products that they are really benefiting from it. They are not only working on it as their main work, but they use it as side works that really are profitable for them. So thank you for listening. As I have my last word to say, maybe at the end, I just have just short piece of advice to tell there. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sankara, for sharing your experience with us. It was a very great presentation, and we have benefited so much. And again, I would like to thank you for you. Now, I would like to give the floor to Miss Aisha Hana Agrin, but first, I would like to read her biography, then I will be giving the floor to her. So Aisha Hana has a background in international relations, global affairs, transnational security, cybersecurity, and cybercrime, with degrees from New York University and University do Quebec, and Montreal. Her previous roles include the United Nations, Think Do Tank, NGOs, and private sector organizations. Aisha Hana has also lived in various countries with diverse backgrounds and speaks Arabic, French, English, and Spanish. She currently works for Tech Adaptica, a Toronto-based e-tech company offering avatar-based virtual conference platforms to a variety of organizations. And she is also a member of our MOIC Student Clubs project. So, Ms. Aisha, floor is yours, and you will have 7 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yunus. Assalamu alaikum to everyone. Good morning from Montreal, Canada, where it's 7 a.m. I was very happy first to read all of the messages in the chat and seeing where everyone is from. So that has been nice to see that the conference and the work that ICYF is doing is followed globally. So for my part, what I'll go into is I'd like to remind people and give a bit more information about the definition of green economy, and then talk about its key features. From there, I'd like to talk about the challenges women face within this field and propose some possible solutions that we could keep in mind. And from there, end it with why we should empower and advance young Muslim women in the green economy and young women in general. So I'll go to the definition. As a reminder, a green economy is an economy that aims and has for a goal to reduce the environmental risks and ecological issues that we might face. And it aims for sustainable development without degrading the environment. So keep in mind, it's all about taking care of our environment and our planet. And to give an official definition of UNEP, so the United Nations Environment Programme, a green economy is defined as low carbon, resource efficient, and socially inclusive. So it really needs to be these three: socially inclusive, resource efficient, and low carbon. And some of its key features that we should keep in mind are that it creates abundant opportunities for good and green jobs, but these jobs also should be able to pay a living wage, because here again, it allows people to be socially included. And it's all about having a more efficient use of the energy and other resources. So for example, focusing on the environmental gains and focusing on using renewable sources of energy like wind, solar, instead of non-renewable ones like coal and oil and gas. And it's all about also green manufacturing, which is a resource efficient and not using, of course, toxic chemicals. It goes with it. And that includes, you have to keep in mind that it should include recycling and reusing, so minimal waste. And I love that, Esma, your presentation was all about how to be, sustainable and bring the zero waste, have the zero waste mindset. And when it comes to the challenges, because sadly each field has its ups and downs, opportunities and challenges, the major ones that we see when it comes to that women face in this field are the lack of information about employment, about the different types of employment opportunities within this field, the gender bias and gender stereotyping. So sometimes women are seen as not being fit for jobs within that industry. And also, let's face it, some masculinist work cultures and working conditions that play an impact on that. So in terms of solutions, of course, challenges, let's say I'm just giving, for the sake of time, brief ones. There are more. For possible solutions, I'd say we need to target the goals, monitor the possibilities and opportunities and share them, and help, so that will help enforce and improve women's access to the jobs, but also them starting their own green businesses, and that way play a role in the growing of the green economy. Governments also in general, both national and local, I was going to say also regional ones, that on a higher level to supervise, but I feel that it's really needs to be done on a local scale and then on a national scale. Governments need to conduct analysis of women and men, the different roles that they have in the green economy at the moment, and then see where are the gaps, and from there, be able to bring adapted and concrete solutions from that gap analysis that they would do. Another one that I think of is universities can partner with a variety of companies. So for all of the students that are watching us, reach out to your universities, ask them to bring in organizations, companies that are focused on the green economy, to come have professionals meet you on campus, tell you more about what they're doing, and help you get these opportunities as well. It would help you. An example you could be asking for are recruitment sessions and employment fairs. And especially so within that, young women must be really introduced, and girls, even like before, should be introduced at an early age to the possibilities and the information about this field. And this goes also because a lot of the opportunities within the green economy are related to STEM training. So STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. And it's a field that's mainly male dominated. We should see more and more women in it. And then another solution could be ensuring that the trainings, internships, apprenticeships related to green economy are not unpaid, and because it creates also, we were talking about socially inclusive, it creates gaps. We need to be giving the opportunity and equality to everyone, and to give everyone a chance. So because all of these unpaid trainings, internships can play a major barrier for many people. And so having the opportunity to learn and while supporting themselves helps break these barriers, and will help them also access skilled employment, or here again, I'm talking about employment, but give them the skills to start their own green businesses. And then when it comes to, yes, I'll end it with why we should empower and advance young Muslim women in the green economy for so many things. I'll sum up a few points, which are to achieve, of course, gender equality, to make meaningful change in society, because women bring a lot and can bring even more when they're given equal chances. They should to build on existing structure, to create also transferable wealth, and because go beyond okay, I'm working for survival. It's not only that, they can create their own transferable wealth. I'm having a hard time with ours this morning, my apologies. And it's also an opportunity for greater economic stability and growth. And it helps improve women's workforce participation. So to recap it, gender equality and women's economic empowerment and inclusive green growth go together. And these three together are essential to achieve sustainable development, but also poverty alleviation. And the last sentence, and I'll close it up. An inclusive green growth is not possible without addressing any of the social-cultural constraints and the diverse economic needs and the different behaviors that we see within the different population segments. So we really need to be able to take these into consideration to be able to achieve that growth in the green economy. Thank you.
So dear Aisha, I would like to thank you for your ideas, for your suggestions, and I am sure that these all suggestions that you already presented here are all worth to discuss within the green economy, and especially the role of the young woman within the green economy. Again, I would like to thank you for your contribution. Now, I would like to give the floor to our last panelist, to Ms. Aisha Al-Madid. But first, let me read her biography before I giving the floor to her. So Ms. Aisha is an ambitious, hardworking individual who is passionate about volunteering and environmental issues. She is the founder of the Greener Future Initiative, an initiative to support replacing plastic with eco-friendly solutions. Aisha believes that everyone can take an action and participate with small changes to protect the environment from the plastic harms and make our future greener. So, Miss Aisha, floor is yours. You will have 7 minutes.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this lovely presentation. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for everyone. I'm Carter Marufi, the founder of A Greener Future from Qatar. Our initiative started in 2018. Our main goal is to spread awareness and to let individuals know more about how they can take an action and save the environment. And also from the United Nations SDGs, we are focusing on life on land and life underwater, and also to have sustainable cities. So what we usually do is we give workshops to schools, to universities, how we can change our lifestyle and we have sustainable lifestyle. So we do believe in women empowerment, and if we all gather and get united, we can reach our goals and we can save our environment in many different sectors. So we usually go to schools, and then we also do beach cleanups, and then also we give information. First of all, is when we go for a beach cleanup, why we are cleaning a beach, what is the importance of cleaning a beach, and also what is the return for us. And it's we do believe it's a cycle. Whatever we throw, it's gonna come back to us either today or tomorrow. If we and also what Asma is doing, it's really catched my heart. The composting, and also the how they're teaching the kids at school and planting seeds, or they are touching the soil. So it's very important that we focus on children's and how they can take this action. And we do believe that everyone can give an impact to the environment. And it's just, we need to change our, let's say, our routine, our daily life steps to alternatives stuff that can affect the environment in a good way or a negative way. For example, using reusable bags, reusable cups, straws, or other items that can save the environment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear Aisha. Actually, the plastic waste is one of our main issues of the environment crisis, in my humble opinion. And let me say that we are very happy to have you, since you have shared all your vision and ideas about how to deal with, especially with plastic waste and environmental issues, which you are taking care in Qatar. So again, we are very happy to have you here, and it was very great to see you. And Miss Aisha was our last panelist to be speak in our event. So finally, I would like to open the floor for the questions. And actually, we have received many questions from the chat box. Our friends and me gathered lots of questions to our speakers. But due to the limited time that we have, I have picked 2 questions, and I would like to ask those questions to our 2 panelists. So first question will be coming from Mr. Karem Hamza to Ms. Rafi. I hope Ms. Rafi can hear us. Ms. Rafi Allan, can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so this question is for you. If you can give a brief answer, we would be very happy. So Ms. Karem says that, what are the best practices in the OIC region when it comes to the green economy? Is it necessary to discuss how governments and organizations have come up with innovative and sensible solutions to help women in OIC nations succeed in this field? Ms. Rafi, can you hear us? We cannot hear you right now.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Of course. Actually, basically, Mr. Karem Hamza is asking what are the best practices in the OIC region when it comes to the green economy. Can you give some examples, or if you have any ideas about, if you have any sophisticated solutions about the practices in the OIC region within the green economy, we would be very appreciated.
Yeah, so basically, from the point of view of the Islamic Development Bank, as I've stated, we are actually aware that the problems that the MCs are encountering, and we've refocused on our strategy to driving green economic growth. And what this means is that to support a just transition to green growth, focusing on basically addressing gender gaps and providing social protection and more decent jobs for young women and males. So the focus is really on youth employment and the green jobs, how we could basically reintegrate the young women and men who have lost their jobs, focusing on innovation, entrepreneurships. And what this means is also to focus on building the green skills, which means also reskilling and upskilling, training up these young women and male to acquire green skills while also maintaining their green existing roles. Yeah, so basically now the focus is on driving the employment of young women and male into creating a future-proof workforce to drive the future green economy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear Ms. Rafi. And we have one last question to direct it to Ms. Dr. Emi, if you allow me. Ms. Esma Khaled asking that, is there any cultural slumbering block to women's participation and leadership in the global green economy? She's asking.
That's a great question. And first of all, I just want to say thank you for inviting me. And it's an honor to share the platform with all these wonderful people. And then, yes, there are stumbling blocks to women's participation. There's a lack of educational opportunities. And I agree with my colleague, Dr. Marufi, that there's less financial remuneration for women in the workplace, which is a challenge for women as caregivers. So yes, there's a lot of stumbling blocks. So there's a long road ahead for equality for women in the workplace for all types of careers.
So thank you so much, dear Dr. Emi. And I think that's all, because I know that we exceed our time limit very much. So I really appreciate for our panelists and participators who listen, who watch our program, our event. And please do not forget to follow us from our social media. And again, I would like to thank you for all the efforts that you showed us today. Thank you so much. Have a good day.